Hey there, troopers. This is Turner from the future. I just want to apologize in advance for the audio quality of this episode. Unfortunately, we experienced a bit of a technical mishap during the recording process. While it's not our best work, we hope that you will still enjoy the content. There are still plenty of things to talk about and plenty of funny observations for this movie. Your support means the world to us, and every listen, like, and share helps us continue to bring quality content. And don't worry, things will be back to normal soon. Our highly anticipated throwback episode where we go back and revisit the original 1954 Gojira will be dropping later this month in what is probably going to be a massive three-parter. And we promise it will have much better audio than this episode. Thank you for your understanding, and we will see you next time on The Real Jumpers. Signing off. Hello, troopers, and welcome to episode 7 of the Real Jumpers podcast. I am your host, Turner Thompson, and joining me are a couple of my fellow jumpers. Say hello, everyone.
Yellow.
Hello.
Ahoy.
There. Hello.
Is that what our show's going to devolve to over time? That you just come up with crazier and crazier ways of saying this stuff?
Yes.
I change my name in Discord every day. This isn't much different.
Oh, yeah. What is it today?
Today it's Seize the Blaze.
The Blades. Ugh.
All right, today we are skipping the intros, but I would like to mention that one of our squad mates, Steve, couldn't make it today, so we will likely be adding his review to the end of this episode in a separate section. This episode, we are continuing part 2 of our coverage of the American Mothra released back in 1962. And before we get started, Nikki, would you please tag your stuff and give us the warning?
Of course. Hello, I am Nikki, aka Akemi, and if you'd like to find me other places, because I have been told that many of you like my voice, thank you, by the way, that makes me so happy. I do weekly streams from 2 to 5 on Twitch, TikTok, and YouTube. So feel free to come and watch. I would prefer you to come to the YouTube and Twitch, and links are in the description.
Twitch, never heard of that one.
Yeah, it's a new thing. Also, we acknowledge that this film has many, and I mean many, controversial and racist depictions. While this movie is a product of the time and techniques used, were commonplace in movie making, these depictions were wrong then and are still wrong to this day. Much like HBO Max says, to create a more just, equitable, and inclusive future, we must first acknowledge and understand history. That being said, we did watch this film as it was presented and will be making comments accordingly.
All right, well said. For my research, I'd like to shout out Wikizilla, Wikipedia, IMDb, and the YouTubers Big Action Bill, Paperfins, and the Unapologetic Geek. Links to their channels will be in the YouTube description. Please go watch them and support them. Their videos were super helpful in order to get information and background production information. Let's see. And like always, we would like to make the disclaimer that the point of our podcast is to entertain. So if we happen to get anything wrong or mispronounce any names, we are sorry, and we encourage you to do your own research if these films interest you. Please comment below what we might have gotten wrong or any other fun facts about the film. And remember to drop us a like and subscribe if you enjoy the show. It really helps us out and would mean the world to us if you supported the Real Jumpers. Now then, ladies and gentlemen, gear up. We're jumping feet first into the heart of sci-fi. This is Real Jumpers. Now let's drop! Alright, last time on Real Jumpers, our story began with a ship that was struck by a typhoon while inside an atomic test zone in the Pacific. Only 4 survivors managed to make it to the nearby island known as Infant Isle, a small dot on the map that was next to the blast zone and believed to be highly radioactive. Once rescued and brought back to Japan, scientists are baffled how these men survived their experience while showing 0 signs of radiation. The men inform us that natives fed them a special juice and believe that it might be the cause to their miraculous health.
It was gummy berry juice. From the
secret of gummy berry juice.
I'm like giving as a child that you understood that reference.
Bound to hear it everywhere.
Higher
are the
bitches at the
gummy
young
bears.
compare. Gratitude.
No, Discord sucks because you can't harmonize.
Oh, no, I thought I was singing a different lyric than you.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not a problem with Discord, but harmonizing is very easy.
Reporters Michi and Zenshiro team up with scientists Dr. Murata and Dr. Shujo and joined an expedition to the island to learn more about these mysterious natives. This trip was funded by the Reliscan businessman Nelson on behalf of the fictional country to help clear their name for potentially bombing native peoples.
Assholes.
Oh, is that all?
Sorry, I have a cough. It's really
Yeah,
bad.
in the movie, they're like, oh shit, we need to cover our ass now. Quickly get the PR team.
Yes. Employ XCOM PR team. Sir, they'll take all of our budget. It's needed.
Yeah, it's not the PR team. It's the I guess it'd be the logistics team. You know, no, they fall under the PR budget. It's the PR team.
It would be the PR team, because who else puts up posters in what was it?
Enemy territory?
No, not only it was the fucking chosen base. You know, the hidden secret chosen base you have to do an entire mission just to decipher the fucking location of.
Yeah.
Somehow someone from the XCOM PR team gets in there and puts up a fucking poster in there.
And leaves unharmed.
Like, you're in a mission and you fucking see the stupid thing that's like down with aliens. I just imagine the fucking chosen walking through their secret base being like, Orp, how the fuck did that get over there? What are you talking about? What the fuck is that? Right?
They just keep appearing.
Once there, we see a land that time forgot and two tiny women whom the crooked Nelson manages to kidnap and put on a Broadway show featuring them in Tokyo. And it's all kinds of messed up.
As in, built on the literal graves of their fellow islandmen.
Oh, yeah. Nelson has a lot in common with Christopher Columbus. Anywho,
Damn.
little does Nelson know that along with violating many human rights, the girls known as the Shobijin have the power to summon their guardian monster, Mothra, to come and save them. And the last thing we see in part 1 is the mighty caterpillar hatching from a massive egg.
Mom's coming.
The worm's coming.
Who's playing either... What was that game that you like playing with us?
Wormtown?
Wormtown. Who's playing Wormtown and or who's watching the movie Tremors? That's a movie I would love to watch with you guys. Tremors,
Oh my god, Trevor should totally be on the list.
such a great
Is that a sci-fi? Is that a sci-fi movie?
It is very much a sci-fi movie.
movie. We'll talk about it later.
We'll talk about it later. So, when we pick up the story, we're back at the press, and Nelson and his goons are threatening to sue the Nido News Press for defamation. They warned that they would get the Reliscan embassy to back them up if they don't stop printing slanderous stories about them and their show.
He lawyered up, people. Get this. This guy who did human trafficking, mass murder, and a bunch of other shit knew he's in the wrong and decided to lawyer up.
But, you know, in full defense of everyone who's ever been in a legal issue, you need a lawyer.
At the same time, I think he should get a new lawyer, because even that lawyer does say that what was that line?
It was he's right this time or something like that.
Yeah, this time he says it this time. And like, wait, so that means you know he's wrong 90% of the time?
Dude, I don't know about you, but that's kind of all kinds. That's all kinds of fucked up.
That's just lawyers in general.
He's after a payday. This lawyer.
How much is he paying you? And at that point, sure, I will do that.
Yeah, whatever. As Nelson's goons and the press go back and forth on this issue, this is all interrupted when Zenshiro shows up. He's got this long telegram-like piece of paper, and he brings news that a large object was spotted in the Pacific heading for Japan. And he claims it's Mothra, and it's coming to rescue the girls. He also states that, like, he learned this by talking to the girls, which Nelson is like, what? I thought they didn't speak Japanese. But how?
I don't know, man. They just like me more than you. They think you're a dick. And that you should burn in hell. Their words, not mine.
So Nelson denies any wrongdoing, even scoffing at the idea of Mothra, stating that even if Mothra was real, he would not be responsible for it. And then, bam, another hard cut as we see that the girls are forced to do yet another show. I kind of like this sequence because as they're doing the really creepy carriage flying through the sky in a starry night, whatever, a good portion of their screen fades out to show a transition of Mothra out at sea, heading to Japan to save her kids.
Mommy's coming.
That is one mad mama.
You know, it kind of reminds me, and country listeners will understand this. There's a song that Reba McEntire released years ago called Nacky Creek Road. And there is a line in that song that goes, "You don't want to see mama go to war." It's bone chilling. It's the same damn thing.
Oh, I like that.
Yes.
One note I'd like to say is that odds are they're doing this crossfade using a luma key, which is a term in compositing where you create a matte or a mask using the differences between light and dark. And that often is it's a useful technique when you're trying to like splice images together and you see an easy way to like create a matte. How they did it back then is a little bit more mechanical or possibly more a chemical process. So I don't know the exact parts of it, but on Nuke you have a little slider.
Okay.
There's more to it than just a slider, but yeah, that's it. This is the part where I believe that Mothra is being a deliberate prick and rams right into a ship that's directly in her path when she at any point had the opportunity to turn like 2 degrees and miss it.
Why would you make turns when the quickest way is through? We all know the nursery rhyme.
Nursery rhyme. At that point, it's just science.
Take the asymptote.
This rich asshole stole her kids. I think she has every right to be a deliberate prick.
Yeah. Remember what I said? You don't want to see Mama go to war. This is what happens when Mama goes to war.
Yeah, so everyone on that ship is screwed. And after that ship sinks, we hard cut yet again back to the theater. And there's a press conference in like I guess it's like the, what do you call it? The entrance room of a theater? There's like a term for it.
A lobby.
A lobby, thank you. There's a conference going on in the lobby, and everyone there is asking questions about Mothra, and Zenchuro is right at the front, and he starts immediately blaming that the ship's sinking on Nelson's actions, to which obviously he denies any wrongdoing. There's one of the lines that made me giggle, I guess, was that one of his goons says, "What right do you have to persecute us? We're doing nothing wrong."
That's what you think. Let me go ahead and list off these offenses real quick. We got mass murder, kidnapping, imprisonment, and torture. That's the singing and dancing.
Also, for the goon that said that, so how many kill streaks did you get when you were on that island? Was it enough? Was it enough for a chopper gunner, or was it enough for an RCXD? Like, which one are you talking? Which one did you get?
Nah, he got the 30 kill streak, Mothra.
Oh, good point. Good point.
Also, can we put misogyny on the list of crimes for that one statement the guy made?
Unfortunately, it's not illegal.
It should be.
It still makes him a huge prick and a disgusting human being.
Again, should be burning in hell.
Yeah. Seeing as they were getting nowhere with this back and forth yet again with this problematic show, Zenchuro and Shujo retreat and they hatch a plan to go backstage and plead with the girls to call Mothra off. As Shujo sneaks in to see the twins, several goons try to stop them, and we learn that our goofy Zenchuro is called the Bulldog for a reason. Or Snapping Turtle, depending on which version of the movie you watch. It turns out that he studied under martial arts legends Larry, Moe, and Curly, and takes out 4 people with the power of slapstick.
Including knocking someone off the railing of the stairs with nothing but a rolled up piece of paper.
I gotta stop you. Look at
That's exactly what he did too.
Zenchuro, my beloved, like this is the moment in the movie that fully sold me on the character, because he's just a great guy. He does great at his work, because honestly, being a reporter that goes through, you can effectively have that much room, means that you're doing something well, that your boss can effectively tell you, you know what you do best, and leave you be. Just don't get into legal trouble. Not only that, he's friendly, nice to everyone. He's not doing illegal practices like his partner who takes cameras with the tiny camera.
Makes you wonder where she got practice doing that.
I was just gonna say, maybe not necessarily legally, because he did kind of encourage Michi to get those unethical photos.
Okay, yes, but besides that, he's just a great guy.
Yeah, he is. What I was gonna say is that, like, in part one of our coverage on Mothra, I definitely mentioned that I did not like him in the very beginning of the movie, but, like, yeah, it's right around this point where I start to like him. So yeah, again, I'd like to emphasize that Zenchuro managed to take out 4 dudes. That's an impressive feat for, like, any human, really. It reminds me of the example I made before. You could take the world's greatest MMA fighter, but if you put him in a room with 10 dudes with baseball bats, he doesn't stand a chance.
I mean, yeah, in this case, you have one guy with the power of slapstick gingerly slapping people, and they're just like, falling on the floor with their arms broken.
I think Nelson needs to get better bodyguards.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Or, just stop.
That costs more money, though.
Oh, you know what? That would be so much better.
Back to Shujo.
Another hard cut.
Yep. Actually, yeah. Another hard cut.
This is less of a hard cut because you do see Zenchuro walking into the room as Shujo is talking to them, so it definitely transitions from one place to another, sort of. It's not as abrupt as, my God, I wonder what's going to happen. I'm Mothra!
More of a soft transition than anything else.
Yeah.
But, anyways, back to Shujo. We see him pleading with the girls to stop Mothra. They say that they can't, and that their guardian is guided to them, to the power that they can't control. The 2 men get a bright idea that their supposed telepathy is what guides Mothra, and they seek out Dr. Harada to see if there is a way to stop it. Kudos to this guy, who these 2, another scientist and a reporter, comes up to them asking, hey, can you stop telepathy? And despite not knowing what this telepathy could possibly be, he takes an educated guess and assumes it might function like radio waves. He then shows the 2 a weird red-colored glassy material that can block radio waves. They then build a box out of this material and pray and hope that this can cut the girls off from Mothra. And what they effectively built was a Faraday cage, or a Faraday shield in this instance, which is an enclosure used to block some electromagnetic fields. A Faraday shield may be formed by continuous covering of the conductive material, or in this case, what now could be considered a Faraday cage, by a mesh of such materials. Faraday cages are named after the scientist Michael Faraday, who first constructed one in 1836, which was interesting to find out.
Yeah, so, like, long story short, a Faraday cage is an apparatus where you could put, like, your cell phone in it and it would lose all connection. Like, I don't think it would stop gamma radiation, but because that's much more tiny condensed, but usually
I
on
think
the...
it'd stop gamma radiation. Have you fucking seen the Hulk?
No, but, like, yeah, that essentially what they have built here is a Faraday cage.
And that concludes science class with Turner and Dennis.
Yay!
Next episode, we figure out how to recreate Chernobyl.
It's so funny you mentioned science class because there's a part later in this movie where I'm gonna explain that I tried my damnedest, but no, keep going.
Okay, we then cut out of nowhere again to the JSDF Air Force spotting Mothra out at sea, and they attempt to stop her. Seeing as Plan A, buried alive, of the anti-kaiju protocols established in the raids again cannot be achieved in ocean, they go to Plan B, using burning oil barrels, and set the ocean around Mothra on fire, they caused a mini oil spill to stop her.
I loved writing that because we made the joke back in Rodan that because of the actions in raids again, all Japan knows to stop kaiju to try and bury them alive. And then when I saw them using the barrels, it reminded me of part 2 of that stupid plan back in raids again. So now I think it's canon that's the only plans at this point: buried alive or use burning oil. That's all they got.
Granted, later on in this movie, that's not what they have. I think they have something infinitely worse to the environment. But that's a mystery mouse tool for later. Shockingly, guess what, everyone? It does nothing. But the authorities are claiming she's dead. Like, don't tell me, oh, it's dead. If there's no fully functioning dead body and it's still moving, then it's not dead. No body, it's the common rule of media. No body equals no kill.
Well, the first Godzilla was melted by Sprite, so...
McDonald's Sprite.
They see it. They see the McDonald's Sprite burning it.
Yeah, it's true.
But not even burning milk.
You didn't check to see if he was dead? We dunked him in McDonald's Sprite. It was kind of assumed.
That's my favorite line from later on. Oh, but
what is that from, really quick?
Red versus Blue. It's from later on in the series.
I didn't go back and watch that show.
Yeah, no, it's great. Back onto the mainland, the press learns that the Realistic government is backing Nelson's right to property.
This is one of the most disgusting things I'd ever heard. So you're telling me that this government is letting them own these people?
Yeah, the government's done worse.
And not too long ago, all the people that were part of his government, of the country that he's a part of, when they first found the girls, they all had guns pointed to Nelson and literally saying, "What are you doing?"
I guess it's because he's got a lot of money. He's got connections, I guess.
That's all you need in this world.
And maybe Japan doesn't have the same laws as America when it comes to exotic pets. And if they do, they might not have had them back then.
I guess. Oh, again, this is Realistica backing Nelson up, saying that they will protect his right to property in Japan or something.
Isn't Realistica the amalgamation of like America and Russia?
Yes.
So doesn't that say something big about us?
Yeah, it is a bit of a jab. Because in this movie, Ishiro Honda, who is the director, really didn't like America's version of capitalism. So Nelson is kind of a stand-in for that.
It's also just movie mumbo jumbo where they make it sound smart enough, but think about it. If Realistica is trying to impose Nelson's right to property in Japan, a country that's not themselves, that doesn't fucking work. You can't enforce different rights in a different country than yours.
It depends on how much power you have.
No, that's like right now, if fucking the U.S. just said to, I don't know, some local celebrity, hey, you can't own that fish. That doesn't make any fucking sense.
You know what? Yeah, that makes sense.
In a desperate plea to save lives, our heroes go to Nelson and beg that he keeps the girls inside the empty radio wave box. Nelson states that it's pointless since Mothra's already dead. Well, and the camera kind of focuses, in my opinion, on the guy polishing his gun in the background, just like letting us know that he's still there.
I love it because now I kind of think that guy is one of the guys that Genturo beat the shit out of, and now he's like, "Oh yeah,
I'm gonna
you want to try that again, big boy?"
I got a gun now.
He's got like a big ass sniper rifle too. It's got a scope and everything.
And I bet you that gun. It will jam up on him the moment they start to fight.
Because he's got the power of comedy on his side.
Oh, Nelson ultimately tells them to leave, but says he'll humor them and use the box. As he makes our heroes leave, he gets a call that says that he needs to cancel the show. This is because the government of Japan has spotted something huge at a hydroelectric dam near Tokyo. Guess who that could be?
I love the way Nelson reacts to this. He's like, "No, fine, you'll have to talk to my embassy." He just slams the phone.
Yeah. Talk to my embassy. Where's the box? There is. Okay, let's just put it on. Okay, we're good. I bet you he's just like slightly sweating. It's like, no, it can't be real. It can't be real. Cameras leave, everyone leaves. Yeah, where is it? Where is the box? Where's the box? Put the box on.
I will actually correct you because he doesn't put on the box until later.
No, that was a joke, effectively.
Oh yeah. I for the sake of our listeners, he doesn't put the box on yet because it's important. So our heroes hear of this, and they make a beeline to see if this truly is Mothra, because all of them are like, something's happening at the dam. I bet you it's Mothra. We then see that something is boiling and writhing around at the reservoir of the dam, and it begins to crumble. As the walls crack and the music swells, we also see the girls back in Tokyo begin to sing for their savior as Nelson demands them to stop.
I thought he wanted them to sing.
Well, this is backstage, where it's annoying. Our heroes quickly arrive on the scene at the dam, and they are stopped by one lone brave police officer as he begs them to flee. And I mad props to this police officer in universe, because like this guy has absolutely no effing clue what is going on, and he is trying to like get out of here. What the hell are you people doing?
He's doing his job, and I think he's doing his best.
You getting that payday. That was actually one of the notes I made, actually. In the midst of all this, the police officers are still directing traffic. Meanwhile, these people are trying to run away in a car again.
Well, no, because what happened is that like they get out of their car, walk towards the bridge, and the police officer is telling them to leave because they're in like a valley that leads up to the dam, and if it breaks, they're all screwed. Yeah, so major props to this guy. He's so like, please get out of here. I'm trying to save your life.
And I'd like to be saved too. The faster you get out of here, the faster I can leave.
Yeah. Mothra then reveals herself, breaching the surface of the chaotic water, and slams into the wall, destroying the dam as people flee across several bridges.
She's here.
One of the civilians unwittingly leaves their newborn on the bridge, and our comedic relief leaps into action to save the child before the apocalyptic surge of water destroys the bridge. Zenchuro, man, what a badass. I love this guy now.
Like I said, Zenichiro, my beloved, he gradually risks his life. Baby in the middle grabs him, even though everyone else could have too. He just goes in, grabs it, and leaves. Also, you've heard of Free Willy. Have you heard of my new movie, Free Mothra?
Oh my god. I just imagined a giant Mothra larva jumping over the kid, and it's like, yeah! But she can't get that high up. And crushes him.
God damn it. Mothra on that Free Willy type shit.
I knew we should have paid for some flotation devices.
Yeah, so as basically that entire valley is destroyed, flooded, anyone in there is dead, we then hard cut to learn that Shujo's younger brother, who we mentioned back in the first part, his name is Shinji, which basically reminds me of Evangelion, but we'll talk about that some other time. He feels like being a hero and manages to sneak into the theater and attempts to rescue the girls. Props to this kid. Like, really stupid idea, but at least he's good at heart.
Yeah. Too bad this is like the second time we see him, and we know nothing else about him, so I don't really care.
And we're going to add child abuse to the list of felonies.
Yeah, because unfortunately, he doesn't get very far, and we see some rather brutal treatment of this kid by Nelson's goons as they tie him down and try to, like,
They shove a rag in his mouth.
Yeah, they shove a rag into his mouth. Good on the kid, though. He manages to bite the shit out of that guy's thumb.
Really trying to live up to his brother's name. But that's number 7 on the list of charges against Nelson.
Yeah, this is, like, I was kind of shocked how, like, because again, I'm from 2024. I was kind of shocked how they treated this kid on film.
This happened in what time period?
The 60s, like the very beginning of the 60s.
I wonder what on-site filming was like for the kid too, because child labor laws were crap back then.
I bet you, I mean, they didn't obviously do anything harmful to him. It just looked that way.
Oh, no, that's not what I mean. It's just curiosity for behind-the-scenes stuff.
I do know that Ishiro Honda has a good reputation with kids. There is a movie where it's later in the series, but it predominantly follows one chick.
One chick?
I tried to say kid. I tried to say child and kid at the same time. It said chid. it follows one kid throughout the whole movie. And I remember there was a lot of interviews saying that Ishiro Honda has a lot of patience and is very good with children.
Okay.
So because he's the director of this movie, I'm pretty sure he was fine.
Most child actors are treated pretty well anyways, I mean.
This part is kind of like a bit of a weird, like, the timing doesn't seem to make sense. Mothra just destroyed the bridge, but Mothra seems to be taking her sweet-ass time, as there's enough time to pass for the press to learn that the Reliscan government has reversed their stance on the matter, and Nelson must now release the girls. Hearing this, our reporter duo and Shujo are quick to head back to the theater, because they're like, oh, I want to see his face when he learns he has to give up the girls.
Yeah. A little too eager.
Yeah, this might be a failure of the American edit that caused this timing issue. But basically, the Japanese and Reliscan police, both of them show up in front of the theater, and they arrive to find that Nelson and the girls have bolted.
Shocker.
Yeah, shocker.
Again, he knows he's doing something wrong.
Yeah, definitely. Shujo and Zenshiro find Shinji knocked out and tied up backstage. As they untie him, Michi comes in and yells that Mothra has reached Tokyo. This is the part that I was like, huh? How the heck did you guys manage to get back to Tokyo before Mothra did when you were both in the same location? She must have been ripping slow.
She's a larva in the ocean. Of course she's slow.
No, this was on land now.
Well, I guess if she's on land, if we're going with the land theory, then she has to go up between between buildings, different land masses, and between there.
Whatever. I don't know. The timing doesn't make sense to me.
Just some slapstick. Don't take it too serious.
I know. We then cut to see Mothra crawling along the ground as buildings are flattened, making a straight line towards the last known location of the girls. Meanwhile, the military is doing everything in their power to stop her. Mothra, unfortunately, is a badass bitch with zero fucks to give, and nothing can slow her down.
So, quick question for you guys. When did you start rooting for Mothra?
Pretty much the second that Nelson abducted the girls.
For me, it was more of a little bit later after a certain part in the movie that's coming up that's literally about to show up.
So her attempts to get into where the girls are takes quite a while. As day turns to night, Mothra has bored deeper and deeper into the heart of Tokyo like a drill, and constant tape barrages and jets do little to stop her. We see civilians flee in terror as the JSDF scramble to form battle lines that are constantly broken through.
It's almost like simple stratagems and warfare won't kill these radioactive monsters.
Is this the part where it's just suddenly night in the next scene?
Kind of, yeah.
Somebody didn't plan the filming day properly.
I mean, that was only a thing in the American release. They did it to keep the fight between Mothra and the military consistent, so they cut off a bunch of scenes like a bunch of people evacuating.
Okay. Did they cut like shots of Mothra herself? Because 10-year-old me would not stand for that.
Yes, they did.
No!
They cut a couple shots of Mothra like walking around. Any shots that she wasn't being shot at, pretty much.
No, I want to see my monster.
Monster's just a guy in a suit.
In this case, it's like 8 dudes.
The monster's just 8 men in a suit. You don't want that monster.
Normally, I have trouble, like I mentioned before, talking about these scenes in the podcast, but like there was one really funny scene that I liked where Mothra was like going down like a big thoroughfare, and there were tanks just shooting at them, and it's like, it's not working. Should we keep firing? Yes, keep firing. It's just getting closer and closer. It's like, should we retreat? No, keep firing. I'm pretty sure it's not doing anything.
I'm sure it will work eventually.
So it's just like in Warhammer 40k, like you're an Imperial Guardsman and a Hive Tyrant's coming in.
Hive Tyrant approaching. Affix bayonets.
I love that so much.
Such a funny meme. To our listeners, we're also huge fans of Warhammer 40k. If we can figure out a way to cover it in our podcast, we will. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I'm almost positive that if the military had done nothing, the damage would have been minimized, because Mothra seems to be only going in a straight line. If the military had stopped what they're doing, I think a huge amount of the fires that broke out would have been avoided.
It's okay. They learned this later.
In the middle of the confusion, we find that Nelson and his goons are attempting to escape via car. As the cacophony of screams and gunfire echo through the streets of Tokyo, we see that Mothra, who no longer knows exactly where the girls are due to the special box, is heading for Tokyo Tower.
Stuffing live people into a non-breathable box, another crime.
Oh, yeah.
Although he's not the one that developed the box, I just like to preface that because of what it is, it's probably non-breathable.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I never thought of that.
That's dark.
Well, the good news is the girls are maybe magic. I don't know. One thing I want to mention is that it's unclear, but magic might be real in the Godzilla, at least in the Showa timeline. But it's very, very vague. The best example of it happens in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla with a monster, I think it's called King Caesar. But that's for later. Basically, Tokyo Tower was a brand new building. It should be newish building around the time that Mothra came out, so the producers thought it would be a cool idea to have her attack it. This whole scene is kind of reminiscent of a nightmare I was. Oh, yeah, I wanted to tell this story. Okay, so there's all the footage of the people running around in the streets. It's the dead of night, and tanks are firing at something kind of vague off in the distance. I've had a nightmare just like this. When I used to work at Domino's, not too long ago, I think 4 years ago, I used to work at Domino's. I had a dream one night where I was making a delivery. I live in a very wooded area, so I was going around some back roads where it was really dark, and all I could see were the trees in every direction. And I started hearing stuff like fireworks, but then those fireworks slowly turned into AA batteries and gunfire and tank rounds. I was in my car in the middle of the forest as a M1 Abrams literally plowed through the tree line in front of me and cut me off as it fired at something I couldn't see. Oh, it was horrifying. Eventually I got to a town where I used to live, and I was able to get up to the top of this hill where the center of the town is, and I was able to look out, and I saw basically dream version of Godzilla being illuminated by gunfire off in the distance, and I woke up in a cold sweat.
What dreams are you having?
Wow.
Your dreams are very interesting. You need to keep a dream journal.
Well, I've got another one where I was in a gigantic McDonald's play place and I was being chased by the Spinosaurus from Jurassic Park 3.
Again, keep a dream journal.
As an untold amount of munitions, artillery, and other firepower is poured into the Caterpillar, it begins to climb up and ascend Tokyo Tower. For no really good reason, but it's only when the kaiju breaks the tower in half and falls down, seemingly injuring itself, does the military cease fire. It's almost like a Mothra go home, you're drunk moment.
It's like a toddler just kind of knocking themselves over on accident, and they're just like, all right.
I don't feel so good. It definitely looks dazed. Our heroes arrive only to be shocked as Mothra begins to shoot a stream of silk from her mouth into the air. A rather funny consequence of this is that an unfortunate helicopter pilot in the area is caught by one of the webs, tangles up its rotors, and it just plummets down and explodes. It's kind of funny. No!
Wrong place, wrong time.
She said, "Be gone from here." Away.
It sounds like a fucking 4chan green text story. Minding my own business, flying helicopter, suddenly run into 80-foot long fucking white web spun by a giant caterpillar.
It is then that we learn that the monster is building a cocoon, and we see the military has at last finally pieced enough together to realize that Nelson is to blame and that he must be found to end this crisis before the monster reemerges from the cocoon.
No, shit. It wasn't like they were saying that Mothra is after these two girls that he had this entire fucking time.
Yes. One thing I like to know is that they also said something like, okay, it's going to take a while to emerge, so, okay, we got time. Stop shooting at it. We'll figure something out. We then hard cut, and we see Nelson donning his most inconspicuous trench coat and hat as he is at an airport looking to sneak onto a flight to Realistica via a fake passport. The girls are there too, stuffed into a briefcase. presumably still inside the special anti-telepathy box, which is actually true because later on we see them open it, and yes, the box is in there. It's just, I guess I wrote it that way, intending that we don't know.
Or we know.
Yeah, how do we know as the audience? Somehow our heroes already know of the flight to Relisica and laments that they may have lost their chance to end this. And I made a note here, is like, why not call the government and halt all the flights? Like, let them know that you know where he is. Well, instead of doing that, our heroes miraculously know the plane is still on the ground, and they try to rush to the airport to stop it. Meanwhile, Nelson makes a mockery of the TSA and makes it past the security and boards the flight.
Another reason I hate him.
But who would have guessed but another hard cut to the Japanese and Relisican governments talking in a meeting room. Relisica vows to put an end to this crisis using their new weapons, the atomic heat ray. And they have 2 weapon platforms armed with the weapons ready to go by morning.
Oh, we need to talk about this thing. In TSA, even before all of these world changes happened with 9/11 or whatever, didn't they check your carry-on? Like they opened the bag and went through it?
Sounds like something you could look up on Google.
I can tell you right now, in America, I can board a train and they don't look at my stuff.
Yeah, but when I go through TSA, they at least put the thing through the X-ray machine.
I don't think they could do that back then. I look, a lot changed after 9/11.
Yeah, hold on.
Oh yeah, the TSA wasn't actually a thing until after 9/11.
So we're going to go back to talking about the absurdity of this thing. I have a theory that Relisica was attempting to recreate his breath weapon.
Even if it was fully encapsulated, even if a series of events happened solely in Japan, like 1,000%, that later gets disproven by Rodan. And I feel like someone be like, okay, let's go see what's going on. Hold up, they've been dealing with what? I'm sorry, giant monster, they buried it under ice that could choose atomic breath? Someone in that room was like, hey, we can try and do that. Yes!
That's possible. Let's make a weapon like that. Did you see what it did to Tokyo?
Get this man a raise.
Let's assume that the atomic heat ray doesn't just shoot like some other form of radiation. It literally shoots atomic heat at people. This thing is the most dangerous and absurdly, stupid weapon ever conceived. Okay? I tried for a very long time trying to figure out the math on this thing, and it led me down a rabbit hole of trying to convert Rontgens to rads, and it was a very stupid. I could not find a formula. It was dumb. I tried really hard to find the scientific answer for how screwed everyone is in that city, but here's the best example I can find. There is a account when Chernobyl melted down where a technician named Alexander Yukichenko said that he once stepped out and looked up towards the reactor hall, and he saw a very beautiful laser-like beam of blue light caused by the ionized air glow that appeared up to be flooding up into infinity. So this is the only example I could think of where radiation is so intense you can literally see it. If you can literally see it, and that was what Chernobyl did, these 2 atomic heat ray weapons firing these beams in the air, everyone there needs to be screened for cancer. The entire city has been irradiated.
Damn.
Also, you have the gunners, and like in Chernobyl, there have been accounts of people literally being so decimated by the radiation, they left a permanent shadow on the wall.
No, I think you're thinking of the atomic bomb.
Okay.
Because radiation poisoning kind of just fucks up your DNA. The atomic bomb, I forget exactly what it's called, but the heat, burned people with such intensity that, yes, it did leave shadows on some walls, and they're preserved to this day as, monuments.
Yeah, what radiation will do to you is it melts you. It turns you into goo, kind of.
Gotcha. But it's still the Jesus. And you have gunners here literally manning their stations, firing the weapon. I'm just like, oh, you're dead.
Think of it like this. If you absorbed as much radiation as Bruce Banner did, the Hulk, you would be nothing but a pile of radioactive goo that they wouldn't even scoop up because the person scooping you up would also die.
Exactly. They'd have to like put you in a lead-lined casket and bury you like 50 feet underground.
Yeah. Otherwise, you'd irradiate the cemetery.
Yeah. But like, even if this is a true laser where all the radiation is going in one direction and not hitting anyone else, it's irradiating the air in that area. So that whole area is now fucked because like wherever that breeze takes it is just gonna have fallout.
Just like the cancer gun from Harley Quinn.
It is the cancer gun.
My cancer gun.
So, yeah, so these weapons are stupid and huge. It's a very bad idea to make these things. So, as morning arrives, Mothra has finished her cocoon attached to the ruined structure of Tokyo Tower, and it's one of the more iconic images from this movie. They originally wanted to have her attached to the Diab building, which is the building that Godzilla spared, or at least partially spared in the original Godzilla film, but they didn't. They ultimately went with Tokyo Tower because it was a newer tower. However, they were able to revisit this idea in the Heisei era when Mothra comes back in that timeline.
Also, I like to think about it from today's perspective. When a tourist thinks about Japan, Tokyo Tower is probably one of the more iconic things that you think of.
Exactly. The Diab building is not as, I guess, recognizable to Western audiences. The atomic heat rays are then seen rolling up to get into position, and these things are giant, man. Like they're like the size of like 3 houses put together, rolling downtown. They're like massive. The radar dish that makes up the beam is like, God, how big would you say that is?
Kind of looks like one of those missile launchers. Hold on, I'm going to make a Battletech reference. When you think of the missile launchers that go off the Battletechs and Battletech.
Oh, yeah.
And how they're like big and they sit on the shoulder and everything. Or even bigger ones that don't. That's how big they are.
Yeah, so it's like a column of radiation coming out of this gigantic radar dish. Like, no, screw this thing. So, as they get into position, we hear that the attack on the cocoon will commence at 10 a.m. All those attending are warned not to look directly at the beams without protective eyewear. Like, that's gonna...
It's like people are prepping to watch this thing like it's the freaking solar eclipse.
Oh, yeah, there's like an entire like stage of all these radio broadcasters getting ready to like, yeah, well, I gotta see
and
this.
And it's like, oh, wear these glasses. That'll totally protect you from radioactivity.
Your eyes will be fine.
Also, don't they have like a whole like press line set up with like actual civilians there to watch it go down?
Yes.
That shit would not fly, man. If they're conducting a military operation, those civilians allowed within fucking 20 miles of that place.
Someone sold tickets, man.
Someone rolled out the popcorn like a concession stand.
Yeah, I guess so.
Get your radioactive popcorn here.
Here we are trying to recreate Chernobyl.
No, Chernobyl hasn't happened yet.
Oh.
I'm pretty certain that everyone who created this weapon has no idea the implications of it.
But you know what? That's the signs for another movie day.
Yeah. So the clock ticks down until these twin crimes against humanity are activated and fire their atomic rays at the cocoon, which looks like a peanut.
No, it looks like a packing peanut.
Before long, the death rays set the cocoon ablaze and everyone assumes the monster has been killed. Everyone there from both militaries begin to pat themselves on the back, as once again the hubris of man knows no bounds. There was one radiocaster who said, "This is a real victory for the atomic heat ray."
Obviously, these people have never seen a shonen anime.
I love the way he says it like it's like a sports team he's rooting for. I was really betting on the atomic heat ray. I got stock in it.
I got stock.
What about you, Jim? I accidentally invested in the tanks. I'm out 20 mil.
Ah, damn. Oh, you fool.
What about you, Jim? I invest in Mothra. That's why we don't like you, Jim.
Yeah, but just watch. I'm about to get so much spank.
But it's dead. Oh, don't worry.
Just watch.
It ain't over till the fat moth sings. So, after the supposed death of Mothra, we cut to Realistica, and we see Nelson and his goons are hiding out on a farm that Nelson owns. They soon hear of Mothra's death over the radio, and all of them laugh maniacally, stating, "They're in the clear. Nothing could stop us now."
They're like the Munchkins in the beginning of The Wizard of Oz. Ding dong, the witch is dead. Da, 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 da.
Kind of. They even begin to taunt the Shobijin, saying that Mothra can't hear you now as they continue to sing for her. Stupidly, they are outside the magic box, just so you know.
Oh, yeah. It's like, oh, the moth is dead. Let's take him out of the box.
It's like when they thought the spirit bomb killed Frieza.
Yeah.
JK not dead. K thanks, die. Then, like an instant karma compilation on YouTube, as the goons go on and on about how totally dead Mothra is, she emerges from her cocoon.
It's like they hadn't learned anything from the past 3 monster attacks.
And I realized what she did. They effectively read a repulsion. Mothra, grow, make my Mothra grow.
I thought you were going to quote, after 10,000 years, it's time to conquer her!
No. So that's a good one.
I want to mention that Mothra emerging from her cocoon was one of the funniest experiences I ever had in a movie theater, because I mentioned in part 1, I went to go see Mystery Science Theater 3000's version of this movie, and when Mothra emerges, I think it was Crow, is like, "Oh dear God, it's adorable!" Also, Nikki, I want to apologize to you. I dismissed your initial idea when we were watching this movie that the atomic heat rays helped her grow faster. I have since discovered that, yes, it totally did make her grow faster.
It's like a microwave.
Easy bake Mothra.
Easy bake Mothra.
I did. My thing is like, you think that actually, because we've learned up to this point that the majority of the monsters given to us had something to do with radioactivity, right? Up to this point, we have been told that Mothra was summoned from prayer, right? So what if the radioactivity was given after she was developed and just made her grow faster?
I do have a theory as to why all the monsters absorb radiation or take it so well. It does involve the juice.
Plot armor?
No, it's not plot armor. It involves the juice, and I will explain it when I do my big, grand Showa era theory episode.
Prepare your tinfoil hats, everyone.
Oh, dude, I love tinfoil hats. It's so much fun. So, also, great news. It flies now.
It flies now?
It flies now.
Damn.
Again, radiation. Now she can get to her kids faster.
Yep. Everyone in Tokyo is like, "Oh shit!" and scramble to retreat as she emerges. When she fully unfurls her mighty and colorful wings, she screeches for the whole world to hear, exclaiming, "Later, bitches! Thanks for the extra juice, you morons!" before she takes to the sky. Mothra even produces equal, if not greater, wings to that Rodan could produce with his own wings, and is able to destroy a huge area while still high up in the air. Dr. Harada has the best look on his face when this is all happening compared to everyone else around him. As they all look up toward the Titanic moth flying away, his face looks like, "Huh. Well, that's certainly something you don't see every day."
That didn't go as planned. What the fuck do we do now?
And I think he looks so like nothing surprises him anymore. He's seen like multiple monsters attack Japan. Seeing that was just like Tuesday.
He's watching this like he's watching some kind of air show.
He just can't be asked anymore. It's like,
Oh God, you're laughing so hard. You're coughing. They just looked up at the sky like, God, it appeared.
The heroes then notice that Mothra is heading east toward Relistica, since Nelson stupidly let the Shobijin out of the Faraday cage and Mothra knows where her kids are now. News of this event spreads quickly, and Nelson looks like he's ready to rage quit. Fun fact, Nelson, Mothra is 4,500 miles away from your current location and rapidly approaching.
You waited to use that so badly.
I I went and did the math because Realistica is basically where Moscow is, supposedly, and I did the math of how far away it was from Japan to do that joke.
The other appropriate joke is you will die in 5.
4, 3, 2. Well.
Oh. Nelson's goons are worried, and as his world is crumbling around him, he slaps one of his goons to get in the car, and they are making a desperate escape with the twins back in the Faraday cage. Our heroes manage to get a flight to Realistica, Shujo being called for specifically by Realistica, as they hope he has the knowledge to plead with the Shobijin.
This is what I like to make appointments, that the entire world, or this area of the world, is in a state of panic, and airports are still functioning!
Especially with a flying monster around.
What the fuck?!
It sounded like she ran away from her desk and said that.
Please keep that in.
Oh, God. So, while they discuss plans to find the girls, which, by the way, Zenchuro has the genius plan of, oh, that's easy. We just have to find Nelson and we'll find the girls. That's a great plan, dude.
No shit!
Sound like you've been trying to do that this entire fucking time.
So, the plane announces over the intercom that they received news that Mothra has attacked, and get this, New Kirk City.
New Kirk City.
Oh, this is when we get to the most fantastic models I've ever seen in my entire life. And Turner, I finally figured out what these models remind me of.
Okay, hold on before you go. Leave that for when we get to that point.
Please.
So I want to point out that when I heard them say New Kirk City, this was the moment that I went back to check in Japanese if it was actually America, because I was like, well, is this just a localization thing where they didn't want Mothra attacking America? No, it turns out it's Realistica in the Japanese version too, and it's still called New Kirk City. So we then cut to quote-unquote New Kirk City, and there are sirens blaring. It's straight up just New York City.
Really dug deep for that name.
Yeah. So it must have been at least a day of travel time if Mothra is about as fast as a commercial plane, because the Realistican military had enough time to set up AA emplacements, and like always, conventional weapons do nothing to harm the kaiju. One funny thing I want to mention is that sometimes the pyrotechnics they use to shoot at her would literally ricochet off her wings, and I thought that was pretty comical, and I liked that detail. As Mothra begins to terrorize the city, it's very unclear where we cut to in relation to New Kirk City, but we see that Nelson and his goons are on a highway with the twins in a suitcase before he pulls up to some sort of neighborhood, I guess, that's on the outskirts of the city. We see that people are being evacuated, and all this commotion in the streets forces Nelson's car to stop. By some stroke of unfathomable luck, a woman recognizes Nelson, as several bystanders and even a few nearby police begin to swarm his car. As the people surround him and demand him to give himself up, Nelson begins to rage and has flashbacks of being surrounded by the natives of Infant Isle, and he pulls out his gun!
And this is where we get to the next felony. He shoots a police officer.
Oh, yeah. So Nelson tries to make a break for it and even shoots a cop in the process. If this place is anything like America, he's just signed his death warrant at that point.
Who's the one that finally took him down?
Police officer.
Is it the same police officer?
No, it was the two other ones.
Okay, these men need a raise.
Well, he killed one of them, and then like the other three there just like shoot him down.
Also, I'd like to understand Nelson's thought process here. Okay, Mothra's incoming, and the entire world knows that it's your fucking fault. Why are you going to go into a massively populated area where people are looking for you?
I have no idea, because he was on a farm like way out in the middle of nowhere.
He was safer at the farm.
I think he was
I think he was in the middle of the boonies.
Yeah, so I don't know why he thought it would be smart to go closer to a larger city. I don't know. I didn't make the movie. So as they shoot him, and one of the police officers does this smart move where he puts his foot on his hand to remove the gun before checking to see if he's actually dead. So good on him. They quickly round up his goons and they retrieve the suitcase. Meanwhile, Mothra is still pissed. And she's doing metaphorical donuts over Newkirk City, causing untold destruction as she doesn't know exactly where the twins are.
Because they're back in the box.
Yep. And go ahead and mention what you were saying.
I would like to mention that, to me, the modeling, and it's probably because it's gone from black and white to color, and it's a massive, time difference and everything. It feels like, in my opinion, the quality of the minis have gone back a bit. And I've trying to figure out what the toy cars, the model cars reminded me of until I figured it out. To me, it looks like a newborn's teething ring.
What?
It looks like a toy you would give your baby.
Okay. It's funny you mentioned that, because, not the teething thing, the quality going down a bit. I genuinely think the minis back in Rodan looked better.
You're right. That's what I mean.
Okay, I see the point that she's trying to make.
It's the movie. This movie came out after Rodan. But somehow the minis used in Rodan look better.
And the funny thing is, it's not just directly after Rodan. This is after several, a couple other big sci-fi movies they made.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And the model city looks like a city that would probably exist in sandbox mode in a game, where you're just trying to figure out where is everybody.
Kind of. There's no one around, and I know they could literally put people in the shots because they're miniatures, but this, I think the sets are missing a certain level of dirt or
that's
grunge.
What it reminds me of.
Eh?
The miniature set. Okay, does anybody ever remember watching the Thomas the Tank Engine?
Oh yeah.
So that's what the minis remind me of. It reminds me of the cityscapes from the Thomas the Tank Engine series with the models.
Go look up a video. I forget who it's by, but they talk about how effed up the Society of Sodor is, because they treat these trains bizarre, because it's unclear if they have rights.
Even as a kid, I was trying to figure that out.
It's really weird. So, as Mothra, again, is just where are my babies? She's we cut back to, and we see that people have gathered outside the church in this neighborhood where Nelson was shot, wondering what to do. And then, miraculously, our heroes kind of show up out of nowhere, escorted by the police. Maybe they heard over the news or radio that Nelson was shot, and they were heading there. It's very unclear. When they get there, they open up the briefcase, but hesitate to remove the Faraday cage, since the telepathic waves will be released. We even see that Mothra isn't too far away and is still circling the city until her demands are met.
City is about to be flat.
Our heroes hear that thousands have already died and don't know what to do. That is until the power of Jesus.
This is where I brought in a very simple thing. As soon as I got the girls, the common sense factor would have been, let's take the girls to this secluded field with nowhere near anybody and everything, and then take them out of the box and then run.
That would have been a way smarter plan, but I'm going to tell you what they actually did.
It's so stupid.
So through the power of Jesus, Shujo makes the connection that the symbol of Mothra is a religious symbol, and he thinks, okay, this combined with church bells ringing gives Shujo the idea, and follow me on this one, to paint a giant version of Mothra's symbol in the middle of an airfield and have all the bells in the city ring at 3 p.m. because Michi says they sound like the girls singing. I don't hear it, I'll be honest.
In the Japanese version, you would. Just because in the American version, they replaced the weird music that they use to signify the girls speaking. They just replace it with gibberish.
Oh, right, yes.
Okay. This leads to one of my biggest complaints in this movie is at the beginning of the movie, we get a more Grecian type religion that's given to us. There's a whole temple. There's people worshiping the temple, summoning Mothra like it's Athena and everything. And now somehow we've jumped to Christianity.
So what the reason this is that Ishiro Honda is Catholic, And what he was trying to do is he was trying to show that religions more often than not had more similarities than differences. And the point he was trying to make is that, like, one thing he would say in an interview is that he didn't like how religions that preach peace so often go to war with each other. So he was trying to, like, show that, like, oh, because Christianity is like this and their religion has similar themes, maybe we can communicate to Mothra that we mean peace through using her image or something like that. There are a lot of religious other scenes that are cut out from the original that would explain this a little bit deeper. They even talk about a creation myth in the Japanese version that's similar to Adam and Eve, but it doesn't explain the Shobijin, so I didn't bring it up.
See, going with the more religions are related than you think thing, that makes sense to me to a degree, because Catholicism and pescatarian Baptist.
I think pescatarian is you eat fish.
Is that pescatarian? I'm thinking something else. What's that one that starts with a P?
I don't know, but I get your point.
It all stems back to Christianity. You mean
an Abrahamic religion?
Yes. Meanwhile, the one that they showed at the beginning, which was very much rooted in what would you call it?
They're called the Etruscans, but that was the style of the pillars that I noticed. I think that's just an error.
But one in the beginning leads more towards a multi-god religion like Roman and Greek. Well, those are very similar. Nordic, multi-gods and worshipping temples, which to me are very different. Yes, there's always the God-fearing part of religion that's always there, but still.
Yeah. No, this whole thing is a huge leap in logic, because this is under the assumption, like, granted, I will state later that Mothra is really intelligent. Like, of all monsters in the Showa era, she's probably the smartest, but there's no way they would know that. Anyway, so as Mothra continues to attack, we see the armed forces painting a massive Mothra symbol in an airfield in a race against time to stop the mighty insect as the city crumbles. 3 p.m. rolls around, and the bells begin to ring. By some miracle, Mothra both sees, hears, and understands what the humans meant to convey to her. It's then that the queen of the Lepidopterias, which is what butterflies are, begins to glide over to the airfield and then descends calmly, landing peacefully in the center of the symbol. And that's when we spring the trap! I'm just kidding.
And here comes the giant fist!
And we killed Mothra.
Presbyterian. I was thinking Presbyterian, not Presbyterian.
Okay. Our heroes are in front of a huge crowd of people, of military and other officials, and I think there's just randos there too, have gathered on the edge of the airfield. They let the girls go and they say, "Thank you. All we wish for you is peace. And if you ever get the wise idea to screw with us again, Mothra will fuck you up."
Waving middle fingers in the air like, "Peace, suckers!" Oh.
The girls say their goodbyes and run to Mothra, who's just vibing.
The whole time, Mothra's just sitting there on the blue screen.
She's just there to pick up her kids from soccer practice at that point.
Yeah, she's just sitting there, just all calm in the background. And just, again, they have fucking, a line where, civilians, reporters, and people are all just standing there watching this force of nature that just killed a couple thousand people, or maybe even million, just sit there on an airway just vibing. Again, the hell, man? Why you got civilians in on this?
I don't know, man. And when we say vibing, for the listeners, she's literally on a loop, so you can see her bobbing up and down really slowly, like
a fucking NPC.
Da 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 da.
She is like an NPC.
Oh. It's because why spend the extra effort to animate her when all she's doing is sitting there? Just make 3 frames, loop it, and call it a day.
No, when we were first watching it twice, I was playing something else because I'm actually relaxed watching this movie, right? It's not making me mad, other than the scenes are okay, that's kind of jarring.
That must have been so nice for you.
It took me, listen, I was playing Call of Duty Zombies. I was already stressed enough. But I'm seeing here, you guys are pointing the loop out, and I'm like, I don't see it. And then I finally see it, it's like, oh, I see it now. She's just 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1,
I
2,
love
3.
it. Because I just thought in my head, lo-fi beats to be a kaiju too. And she's just sitting
You think that's what they listen? You think that's what they listen to? Lo-fi beats to store Japan.
You know what? I'd listen to it.
My favorite part of Mothra is the part where she says it's moth in time and she moths all over everyone.
We don't see how, but the Shobijin managed to board their one-way flight to Infant Island, and Mothra leaves without making a typhoon, showing that she can easily fly without destroying things, making everything prior to this a deliberate act of destruction on her part.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna, and the other point I was gonna make is that Mothra is possibly the most intelligent kaiju in the Showa series. It's one of the few monsters mankind can actually somewhat communicate with. And we'll see later on in the series that she's like a lot more intelligent than this movie leads on. As she leaves, Sanchuro says that he needs to get started on his story for the news, and Michi laments that she forgot to take her pictures, and everyone laughs. Thousands
Meanwhile,
of people are
thousands
dead.
of people. Yeah, oh, sorry.
Thousands of people are dead.
It's okay.
Oh, this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, this movie. I figured out part of the reason I hate it, and most of the females book readers will understand this wholeheartedly, or fan fiction readers. Well, there's a distinct difference in books meant for women that were written by women and written by men.
Before you do that,
Mhm.
I think you should say that for your review.
Okay.
Because we got a little, just a tiny smidge left. We then see Mothra being hand animated, which, if anyone remembers that part where like she's just kind of like a silhouette, I kind of like the animation. It implies that she's like this massive eagle, like flying through the sky. She makes her way back to Infant Island, and the Shobijin are back, singing for their people in celebration of their return, praising Mothra. The movie has a small falling action, unlike previous films that we watched that just kind of end abruptly, where we see that all the natives are celebrating and worshiping at the shrine of Mothra. They all rejoice as the juice flows once more, and the twins sing the Mothra song. With the music blaring, we then have a final shot of Mothra's symbol carved into stone before we roll credits. The end.
Yes, Mothra. Yes, let the juice flow through you. Embrace the dark side.
Like in Dune, instead of let the spice roll, let the juice roll.
It's flow.
Oh, flow. That's the spice flows. Let the juice.
No, it's the spice will flow.
This sounds like a minor stories like magic system.
Oh, yeah.
What was it in The Acolyte? The thread?
Something like that.
I don't know.
The power of one, the power of two, the power of many. They can't in Star Wars.
Yep.
I thought they were bringing it back.
Well, they're going to use the same characters.
Also, they said they're gonna like step back a little bit on like their Star Wars content because of how bad it's been being received.
But it's because they keep making more.
It's because they keep making shit pieces of media.
They do, man. It's bad.
I was just gonna say, I think the only good Star Wars related thing that's come out in the past couple of years that like everyone's agreed was really good was Andor and a little bit of Obi-Wan. I've seen public sentiment shift a little bit on Obi-Wan.
What about The Mandalorian? I think
Oh,
that's
The
the one
Mandalorian.
everyone's like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, season 3 was ass though. Everyone hated season.
Oh, really? Oh.
Of The Mandalorian, really?
Yeah,
Mm.
I've heard that it was ass. Or maybe it's 4.
We're getting off topic.
Well, speaking of opinions on media, so it's time to do the ratings. Yay! All right, so we're going to go and do our ratings. I am the host, so I get to do it first. Nah, boo-hoo, ha-ha-ha.
You see, you may be the host of this show, but you're not the only admin in this Discord call. Once you start, I'm just going to hit the disconnect button.
All right, then. All right, Dom. Do you want to go first?
No.
Okay, so I have mixed feelings about this movie. When compared to the previous 3 films we've watched, it's quite different. I liked it less than King of the Monsters and Rodan, but I feel it's better than Raids Again in certain ways. The movie drags a bit, but not nearly to the extent of Raids Again. There's just certain parts that are just like, all right, can we move on and stuff. Like, I think the multiple back and forth about what Nelson is doing is illegal and kind of grated on me a bit. The spectacle is still very impressive. And even though some sources I read claimed the miniature sets were more impressive than previous films, I guess because in the amount of stuff they built, it's like something we said earlier before, something about them feels less detailed than the ones in previous films. And I can't really put my finger on it. I just think the miniature work in Rodan looks better. I do want to praise them for trying blue screen effects. However, I think using rear projection would have worked better in about 50% of the shots that they implemented it in. It looks bad. It's so obvious that they're doing it, and it stinks. I will say that in King Kong versus Godzilla, they use blue screen again, and it's more successful. I also felt that Nelson's plan was rather stupid. Like, when there are more intriguing things he could have done to exploit the resources and history-changing discoveries on Infant Island, like maybe do something with the juice.
Honestly,
Also, the lighthearted nature and comedy didn't really work for me. It's like, I love Zenshiro. He was pretty funny, but there's other parts that just, like, the part with the mouse just felt like it was a waste of time, and yeah. It's possible the Japanese one is better in context, or I am simply from a different era. Ultimately, my thoughts on the film could be summed up as, it's okay, but probably not made for me despite my love of monster films. I feel this film gets a 5. An average film, nothing terrible, but I'm not blown away either. Basically, for every cool thing that happens, I feel an equally dumb thing also happens. So, if anything, I enjoyed the film more for adding way more material to my Showa-era Hollow Earth theory.
all right, next is Dom.
Yeah, go ahead, Dom, if you want to. We could go in reverse order.
I suppose. I agree with a lot of the points that Turner makes. I mean, we also all watch these movies together. One big Discord call, so we're shooting shit the entire time, which even makes, like Raids Again watchable because we were just making fun of it the whole time. So, I mean, watching it with friends like that bumps it up a couple of points, but I'd probably also give it a 5. It's average. It's perfectly fine. It's probably the first monster movie we watched that didn't bore me to tears. I mean, not that the other ones were boring, just I feel like in the absence of everyone else, I could probably watch this on my own and get a good laugh out of it, but it's ultimately, it's fine. I don't find it egregious or anything. I don't share most of your guys' sentiment about the whole sexism thing and all that. I really don't take media that seriously. Like, of course there's sentiment, and there's a lot of racism, sexism, all the isms in media because, it always eats in there, but it's not that serious, I don't feel like.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think I'd give this movie a slightly higher rating, maybe a 7, I'd say.
You went into this saying that Mothra was one of your favorites, though. Didn't you?
No, that was Rodan, I think.
No, it was Rodan?
Yeah,
okay.
Rodan was my favorite monster growing up. But I think my favorite part of this movie is having a human protagonist. I think that... a human antagonist. I think that really added to it. Because this is our first one with a human antagonist instead of just the monster rising up, causing destruction, and the military burying it again.
Bury them.
I don't like you were saying parry like Dark Souls. Yeah, I just imagine some fucking the Tarnished from Elden Ring trying to parry a Mothra-sized monster just getting smushed.
That's him fighting Bale.
I also really liked this expansion on the Monsterverse with Infant Isle and the tiny women and the tribe of people that worship Mothra. Haven't had anything like that in the movies we've watched so far.
I do want to correct you. The Monsterverse is not this film franchise. It's very specifically, sorry.
I know, but all of this is still in the MonsterVerse, right?
No, the MonsterVerse is only the American legendary made films.
No, okay. When I say the MonsterVerse, I mean the next set of Japanese movies that we were going to watch, the ones that are actually connected, right?
Yeah, that's called the Showa era.
Yes, the Showa era. But all of this is in the Showa era, right? The tribe of people that worship Mothra? That's what I meant.
Yes.
That all of this is in the next connected verse.
Honestly, like I said before, the problems I have with this movie is really, while these hard cuts, very noticeable, very bad, at very opportune times. Like, really? The blue screen was quite noticeable, but other than that, this is like the first monster movie that didn't get me so... Like what Dom's saying, we watch these movies together. Raids again, I will never watch in my life ever again, even if you paid me. Genuinely. This one, I was playing, like I mentioned earlier, I was playing Call of Duty Black Ops 6 Zombies. Playing it, having fun, reliving, like, when I was a kid playing Black Ops Zombies. And I'm listening to the movie and I'm remembering everything. It's a movie I'm like, I could put it on the background and really not care that's going on. It's still there and I know what's going on. So I give it about a good 5. It's a pretty good average movie.
All right. Okay, it's Nikki's turn. Everyone get ready.
Brace yourselves.
When we watched this movie, I had my hands on my head. Like, I was in disbelief of the things that were going on. And I realized that the biggest crime that this movie committed was stating that it was made with women intended. Because that just makes you, as a woman, want to sit there and dissect what they put in it that was meant for a woman.
But wasn't Mothra cute?
Yes. Mothra was cute. I went into this excited because Mothra is one of the big monsters that you hear when you hear about the MonsterVerse. I'm going to go ahead and remind people, I have not, up until this entire experience, I have not seen a single Godzilla movie. All right? Unless it's like that one reference episode from What's New Scooby-Doo when they were in Shanghai. That's it. All right? So I went in I was excited for Mothra and everything, and then Turner told me that it was made for women intended, and then I got so ready and prepared to see what it was, especially since the movie came out in the 60s, and that notably is a very hard time to be a female because of all the shit going down. And I speak from an American standpoint, not a Japanese standpoint. I don't know what, their situation was like over there. But since this was an American release, I took that with note. But I figured out what the problem was. There is and a lot of people who read fan fictions and books will understand this perfectly. There's a big notable difference in books that were written for girls by girls and books that were written for girls by men. All right. There's always a way for it to divert back to a woman fawning over the masculinity in one written by a man. For girls and girls, it's just full on, for the girls, right? So that being said, I went into it as it's playing like a comedy. There are a lot of attractive people. And then, I get done with the movie and I realized that's stuff that they would normally do for any movie, right? It was just I have a really hard time trying to figure out what the hell did it do that was written for women. And it's so many leaps in logic, and how it pushes the story and everything is so demeaning, not in a sexist way, but because you're told it's made for women, you're going to take it in a sexist way. That's how that's exactly what I did. And I realized that the thing I hate the most about this movie is Nelson.
Well, okay. I will say this. If you hate him as a villain, that's a good thing. That means he did his job well.
I'm not sure whether or not I hate him as a person or as a villain or anything. I hate him. There are villains that exist in days like today's media and everything that you just love. Megamind comes to mind. Everybody likes him.
Yeah, I mean, he was the villain, but he was also the protagonist.
I've never seen
And it
that
was
movie.
written
Don't
to
worry
be
about
that
it.
way.
Wow, that's a bad comparison.
Yeah, also,
You've
yeah, if you've never seen it, what the...
Let me think. A good comparison. Everybody likes Bellatrix. She's probably like one of the worst villains in the Harry Potter franchise. She tortured Hermione. She did so many other things. She cheated on her husband with a slimy toad. Ugh.
Here's a question. Are you conflating, like, if you would hate them in real life because what they do is deplorable, or are you talking about how people would just hate them because they don't like their character? Because for example, in Dragon Ball, this is a great example, Frieza is a irredeemable, horrible person, and I love him. He's my favorite villain.
So it's not like that. It's like Suyin from Nikkei. Everybody hates her. Just absolute hate. When you first see her, you're like, oh, okay, purple. She's cute. And then she opens her fucking mouth. It's a genuine villain that you just want to hate, and you hope they writhe in the darkest pits of hell when they die.
Let me pose the question, actually, because I'm having trouble understanding. You get so heated about, like, everything you just talked about, and, like, I'm not trying to sound like an asshole, but I don't really get it myself, because it almost seems like if I told you Star Wars, the very first original Star Wars was made for women, Princess Leia is the only woman in that film. She is constantly sexualized. She's the damsel in distress the entire movie, and then she sits at, like, a screen while they do the Death Star battle. Like, would that piss you off? Because, like, I'm trying to understand, like, I get everything that you're saying, but, like, it's like that thing I bring up where, like, Michael Jackson, plenty of people love his music, even to this day, despite, all the allegations and things that, came to light with him. But just because you like his music, does that mean you're, of that persuasion, or, like, you like the things that were allegated against him? Not really.
Well, it brings a really interesting thing. Michael Jackson's not a good example for me because I've never been a big fan of his movie. Please don't cancel me. But my example would be Hyuna. She's a K-pop star and everything. She is the sole reason I got into the entire, fandom in the first place. And she is currently canceled because of relations through her significant other through the Burning Sun incident. I'm conflicted. It's a big confliction of whether or not, like, I enjoy her music, but I can't deny the things that she's doing at the current moment. It's a big confliction. Yes.
That it was an idol.
No, this is an actual person. Here's how I can. Do you remember watching the music video for Gangnam Style?
Yeah.
She's the girl he danced with. Okay. That's the easiest way for anybody who doesn't know K-pop. Usually you know that song. It's a confliction. But it's like as soon as you're told to look out for something, that's what you look out for.
I think the disconnect I have is that some of you people are using real life people as an example when I'm talking about Nelson as a character did exactly that he was supposed to do.
He did.
He made you hate him. He did things that are deplorable and horrible, and he got what he deserved. That was the story. That happens to, like, Joffrey in Game of Thrones.
Oh, I hate Joffrey. It's a really good thing. I hate Joffrey. I hate Joffrey and Cersei with a freaking fucking passion. But they did a really good job. It's like, so let me rephrase this, okay? The things that stuck out the most that were anti-feminist and anti-women were all the things Nelson did. They were all acts against these little girls, these little women. And that's how I took it. And I hated it. But that doesn't, the actor who did his did the character, he did a fantastic job portraying a character. All right. No matter how much you want to hate the character and everything, you got to admit he did a really good job. What I'm saying is when you go into a fandom, right, blind, but someone tells you to look out for a certain thing, like if you go to watch a Disney movie and someone tells you to keep an eye out for hidden Mickeys, that's what you're going to do.
Okay.
So that's what it was. I was actively trying to find the things that were set forth, made for women. And I couldn't, I was heated. And I realized I was really heated for the same reasons we talked about through the entire show. The leaps in logic, the pushing along and everything. That's what got me heated. It was nothing to do with feminism and everything. I think this movie should not have been labeled as made for women because it read as a normal monster movie to me.
I guess I'll bookend it with, I think that mostly boils down to, I don't know, just human perception of media. Like, you're right. Like, if someone tells you to look out for invisible Mickeys, look for it. But at the same time, you still have to, treat a piece of media with your own opinion.
Yeah. So my opinion is don't label something as for men and women. And I guess that was a big thing that they did back then and everything. In other words, people will sit there and go, oh my gosh, the commands to religion and everything in the movie, that's geared towards women. No, that's probably just geared towards humans.
Well, it was part of Ishiro. Yeah, exactly. It was part of Ishiro Honda's kind of like desire to he's very anti-war, so he wanted to like give peaceful messages, and he thought religion was a good way to try and tie people together.
I will go ahead and state that no, I didn't like the racist depictions of the Islanders. That's wrong. That was terrible. All right. I will go ahead. Like I said, Nelson was my least favorite thing about the movie, but that was the job. The purpose was for you to hate him, and I do. I hate him with a burning passion. If he existed in real life, if Nelson existed in real life, I really wanted Mothra to be the one to kill him.
Yeah, we'll be disappointed in my trivia. So I'm going to try and push you towards, it's been a bit. What do you think is your score?
I didn't get to my score?
Yeah, what is your score?
So if I get down to the nitty gritty of this movie and everything, the notes to religion for a kaiju really stems back to what we saw in the first Godzilla movie, right? Where these islanders seemingly, they knew Godzilla existed. It was a local legend and everything. It seemed to note back to that for me. And plus points for that. All right. The pushing along felt like someone was holding your hand and going, all right, we got to go this way. No, not that way. This way. And that felt weird to me. No, don't do that. So that's negative points. Let's see. The trying to relieve everything with comic relief and the beginning it just kind of felt cheap to me. It felt like they're trying to make it seem more like a sitcom than an actual movie and everything. And that just negative points there. Nelson is negative points. I don't like him. And maybe it's more the things that he did. There's no way those would, well, I guess that's the point. But and I think that's the thing I'm trying to wrap my head around. Oh, I would still rather go and watch. I feel like the story pushing for Gigantus was a lot better than this movie. There was a leap back in set design in certain places. I didn't like the direction in certain places. The leaps in logic really made me, just question everything that I know. And I don't know a lot about science, but I know enough. It's definitely not going to get the same rating as Rodan. I think I'm going to give Mothra a solid 4, but would still be willing to watch Gigantus over this again.
Interesting.
Like, okay. You can tell it's better than Gigantus, but if I'm going to be completely honest, the headache I had watching Mothra is nowhere. The headache I had watching Gigantus is nowhere near the headache I had watching Mothra. And that's just because of how the storyboarding went for Mothra. It just went all over the place. So I will give it a 4, but, and I will go ahead and say this, if it had a remake, I would have really liked to see a remake of it, because I do like the idea that the monster is, delved from prayer. That's such an amazing take on one of these, and I wish they would do that more with these giant monsters.
I'd welcome a Mothra movie in today's Monsterverse.
Mm-hmm. I would also like to apologize to everybody for my discussion. I have ADHD, and I've been trying to wrap my head around my feelings for this movie for the past, how long has it been since we watched this? 2 weeks. I have not figured out how I feel about this movie. It's just a confusion, like spaghetti mess.
Hey troopers, it's me, Steven, from the future. So Mothra. Mothra. Toho, please stop making your monsters have such high-pitched sounds. This wasn't nearly as bad as Rodan, but it was still pretty bad. All in all, I'd give the movie a 4.5. It was definitely better than most of the movies we've seen. I think it was a little bit better than Rodan. There were a lot of points that I wish I was in the episode to talk about, but unfortunately I was busy, so I couldn't join. But overall, yeah, about a 4.5.
So we're going to speed through the trivia, and we'll see if I can get anyone to laugh. Wait. Our average score for this movie is a 5.2. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. Pretty average. All right, so, trivia time. Dr. Shujo is the same actor as Tsukiyoki from Raids Again. His name is Hiroshi Kiyozuma.
Kiyozumi.
I think it's how Kazumi. Whatever. Sorry, I'm terrible at these pronunciations unless I hear it out loud.
Which surprised me, because I didn't. When we were watching that video that went into it, we were like, "Wait, really?"
Yeah.
You, Dion, and I were like, "Wait, really? No, that can't be." Oh my god, it is.
It is totally him. The boss of the Nito Press is the same actor as Dr. Yamada in the two previous Godzilla films. His name is Takashi Shimura. I have a theory that Yamada just gave up after Raids Again and had shed his old identity and became a news operator. Or something.
But at the same time, you saw the amount of stress that he was in when we saw him, like, what, in Rodan?
No, in Raids, he doesn't show up in Rodan. He's in Raids Again.
I thought there was one that showed up again, like, 3 times. You see
No,
the visible...
Rodan one was the one that decided that he was going to take a couple days to research it.
Yeah, that was Dr. Kashiwagi, I think is what his name is.
Gotcha.
The last little cameo is that Kenji Sahara, the main protagonist of Rodan, who was Shigeru, makes a cameo as the helicopter pilot at the very beginning of the movie, which we did mention in part 1. Mothra's cry is a sped-up Anguirus.
No wonder I don't really like it.
It is lazy. You'll be surprised, like, so many roars are reused. It's like, but not, there's one really egregious one in the Heisei era, but when we get to it, I'll show you.
Which means it's a sped up butchered saxophone, which makes my heart sad.
Yeah. I could not find a explanation of where the Shobujin came from. I will direct you to my Hollow Earth theory that I'm working on. One of the Mothra larvas was a small motor-driven model, while the other one is possibly the largest monster costume ever built by Toho, rivaled only by perhaps Biollante. It was 32 feet long, weighed 205 pounds, and required 8 men to operate it. It was made of latex and soft vinyl, which was an idea from monster designer Kizu Murasi, or I don't know how you say that.
Murasai, probably.
Murasai, thank you. The same man later is responsible for sculpting Ghidorah's heads, and later made a film in 2022 called Brush of the Gods, featuring a Hydra-like monster, and it uses old-school tokusatsu art, like this movie. This man also had the idea to use a rod to press divots into Mothra's eyes while the acrylic was still soft to help them look more like bug eyes, and he uses the same technique for stuff in like Kamen Rider. The actor for Nelson, Jerry Ito, is a Japanese-American actor, and he did his own English dub for his character.
Correction, he's a Japanese European actor.
No, I thought he was part American.
No, he's a Euro-Asian actor.
Oh, okay. Mothra is considered the second most popular monster in Japan and is dubbed the Queen of the Monsters. There's even a monster who is vaguely related to Godzilla known as the Prince of the Monsters. It is a kaiju known as Gamora, and he hails from the Ultraman series. The biggest thing about Gamora is that he is the first kaiju to fight Ultraman to a standstill. He's not the first one to defeat Ultraman, but he's the first one to fight him to a standstill. And has since made an untold number of appearances throughout the series. Mothra herself has made 15 appearances throughout the Godzilla films, 3 of which were for a trilogy called The Rebirth of Mothra. those films are like really meant for kids. There is a partially filmed but ultimately scrapped ending where Mothra faces off with Nelson. where Mothra faces off with Nelson on a mountaintop. Fun story about this part. A dummy of Nelson's body, which was used to throw him off a cliff, was left there in the mountains until a hiker stumbled upon it, thought it was a sewer slide victim.
You're kidding me. Someone thought he was a dead body and just...
Someone thought, yeah, it called the police, and Toho has some splaining to do.
What, you did your thing, made me laugh. I did not know about that.
it's really... Oh, it's funny. There's also a part, similar story in the Heisei era. Someone stole Godzilla's suit, and then some woman found it ditched in the woods and gave her a heart attack.
She found the real Godzilla.
All right. This movie sold nearly as many tickets as the first Godzilla in Japan and was a huge success. However, it was not as successful as Rodan in the United States, but is still considered a decent hit, in the US. Columbia Pictures made Mothra a double feature with the Three Stooges in orbit, which really comes full circle on all of our Three Stooges jokes.
Yeah. We've been vindicated.
Nice.
Okay, so now we're done. Any other final thoughts?
I would like to list off the crimes of Nelson real quick.
All right. Court is now in session.
So I listed like 11 things, but I'm realizing that a couple things lie in one general, term. So one, we have the mass murder island shooting. That's murder in the first degree.
Multiple murder in the first degree.
Multiple. But it's like first degree because that's with the intent to kill. Second degree is, not the intent to kill. It just kind of happens, and I don't remember what third degree is. All right. Anyways, kidnapping, torture. And because of the aforementioned, because of doing all of this, thousands will die and everything. That's in the company that is a accessory to murder.
Oh, damn.
Let's see. I don't think misogyny is not a crime. It just needs to be one for this because of the aforementioned, but they liked it statement.
Oh, God. Don't make me. Makes my skin crawl.
Sorry. Lawyering up's not a crime, but, it's like the intent, you knew you did something wrong. It's like admission of guilt, right? Child abuse, stuffing live people into an unbreathable box, that's also considered torture. And then shooting a police officer, that's assault of a police officer. If you were to rack all these up into a sentence...
It's probably life.
Probably life. This all happened in the span of how many weeks?
The course of this movie, I think, takes place over 2-3 weeks maximum.
This man This man committed all of these crimes in the span of 3 weeks. Also, considering the fact that the murder and accessory murder happened over like tens of thousands of people, he's probably getting death, which makes me happy.
Well, all right, everyone. We've had a blast with Mothra and Rodan, but this year is Godzilla's 70th anniversary. And with this year wrapping up, I think for our next movie, it's fitting that we go backward just this once. We've learned a lot since we started this journey, and it's time to fulfill a promise we made back in our first episode. Next time on Real Jumpers, we're watching the original that started it all, Gojira from 1954.
Dude, I'm going to get so philosophical with this thing.
Honestly, it might be a 3-parter.
Oh my gosh. Also, Turner, you need to go get a job as a late night radio host because you've got such a beautiful melodic voice.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Hello, everybody. My name is Markiplier. Dude, I have made several children online think I'm Markiplier because they're like, "Oh my god, are you Markiplier?" Like, no.
I wish.
That was pretty close, though.
So let's get excited, yo! We're gonna watch the original, the way it was intended to be seen. No Steve Martin, none of that stuff. We're gonna see. Unfortunately, it is gonna be a lot of subtitles.
That's
Why, unfortunately?
fine.
I don't know. Some people don't like to read.
I'm ADHD. It makes it easier if it's dub. I'm going to go ahead and say this, okay? Don't you dare come for ADHD people if they watch dub, because sometimes it's just easier.
That is true.
I'm not so defensive of that. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. All right. Okay, then. That's all for now, troopers. We've analyzed the data, dissected the plot, and emerged victorious. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the podcast, and join us next time for another sci-fi deep dive. This is Real Jumpers, signing off.
Bye.
Thanks for jumping with us, y'all.